Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World, and we are live. Lots of stuff to talk about, but before we jump into it, I want to show you what we're working on. So, you may have noticed that I've been working on this while I've not been streaming. Made his face look a little less stupid. Got rid of the stupid flower petal things that were around his head, because that looked dumb. Thinking I just might add a bunch of spikes or something, I don't know. Anyway, but I think it's looking a lot better than it was before. You know, we're slowly getting there. We're making this into something that doesn't suck. I might remove this eyeball thing that just it doesn't fit anymore. Anyway, lots of stuff that we need to talk about. And let's start with the elephant in the room, which is, of course, the second indictment of Donald Trump. Unfortunately, there's not much that we can do to avoid this. We need to discuss it. I'm very, very, very tired of talking about Trump all the goddamn time. Seems like ever since 2016, every frickin' week, if not every single day almost, there's just another stupid fucking story about Donald fucking Trump. Right? But what are you going to do, folks? This is what's going on in the real world. So, Donald Trump has, of course, been indicted for a second time, which is a world record. Not only is he the first president to ever have been indicted, he's also the first president to ever have been indicted for a federal crime. Yeah, so Donald Trump keeps breaking records. Purple, what do you think? Yeah, I think that looks better than yellow. So, this is, of course, in connection to his alleged crimes, which I don't even think they're not even. You don't even have to say alleged anymore. He fucking did it. Relating to the stolen documents case, which they found at Mar-a-Lago. That happened a year ago. Roughly a year ago was when that story broke that Donald Trump went home with a bunch of boxes. You know, let's keep it with purple. There. That looks better than yellow anyway, don't you think? Yeah, that story broke about a year ago. Donald Trump just went home with a bunch of boxes of classified material, had them stacked up in various places around Mar-a-Lago in unsecured locations, and was even showing them to people, stuff like that. And then they asked him for it to return them, and he didn't want to return them, and all this other bullshit. Like 1 year, and it's good to see. It's like, well, finally they've decided to actually do something about this. Because if this were you or I, if either of us or anybody that you've ever met or ever known in your whole life actually did this, they would be in prison already. They would have gone to prison years and years and years ago. Like, like it immediately. They wouldn't have the luxury of waiting around for a year while the Department of Justice finally stops getting cold feet. And this is because Donald Trump is literally the most privileged person on earth. Not only is Donald Trump a super rich billionaire, supposedly, if he actually is a billionaire, he is super duper rich. Not only is he super duper rich, and not only was he super duper rich from the moment he was born, he's also an ex-president. The guy can literally get away with anything because of a man in his position. He's also running for president now. In fact, the only reason he's actually running for president was to try to stay out of jail. At least that's what I think. That's just my own personal opinion. Maybe his ego is making him run for president again. You know, maybe it's like, oh, I lost to Joe Biden, I'm going to get revenge, whatever. That could be it too. So, yeah, very finally glad that this shit's happening. Just to kind of go over what's happening with it and what the facts are and what the charges are very briefly. I'm sure all of you out there who have been watching the news already know what's happening with all this, but, very briefly, because not everybody's a news junkie, right? There's currently 7 charges and what amounts to around 38 different counts related to those charges. It looks like that they relate to obstruction of justice being a big one, espionage, which kind of surprised me, conspiracy, and giving false statements to the investigators, which is, of course, against the law. You're not allowed to lie to the FBI when they ask you questions. And if you do, you get that charge, right? That doesn't surprise me in the slightest. In fact, we've seen several news stories about how Donald Trump would just basically just straight up lie to him and say, yeah, we returned everything, and then it turns out they didn't actually return everything. Stuff like that. Like that happened a couple of times, I think, where he claimed everything was returned, and then they sent another group of people to go search for documents, and they found other documents that they knew were there, and then Donald Trump was lying to his own lawyers, apparently, and then now his lawyers got in trouble with the FBI because they were passing along false statements, things like that. So yeah, it does not surprise me at all that that one is a charge on there. The conspiracy charge necessitates the involvement of others in the crime. So that means other people had to basically conspire with him to withhold these documents. We don't really know who that is just yet. There is some evidence, though, that there may be people under his employ that were basically following his orders and hiding these documents, things like that, transporting them around. Apparently they moved a bunch of them to his New Jersey residence in Bedminster, New Jersey, in an effort to hide them from investigators, that kind of thing. So we'll see what's going on with that. There are apparently at least 5 other sealed indictments, which will be unsealed early next week, pertaining to these co-conspirators. The indictment also alleges, and when it comes to the espionage charge, the indictment also alleges that he showed these documents to other people on at least 2 occasions, and one of those occasions was recorded. So there was a big story that came out last week basically saying that they have Trump dead to rights. And this is what they were talking about. They have a recording of him showing these things to other people. And in this recording, he acknowledges that this information is top secret. So that he knew that it was top secret, and then he also knew he wasn't supposed to have them. Right, you may have seen lots of news stories about how it's over for Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is, smoking gun revealed. That was the smoking gun. It was this recording of him basically acknowledging that he knew that this stuff was top secret and he wasn't supposed to have it. Which kind of puts his defense to rest there. And the whole defense that, I'm the president, I'm allowed to have these things kind of thing, right? That's what he was saying this whole time. So, yeah, Trump had these excuses. And up until now, one of them was that, well, I'm the president, I'm allowed to have it. This video kind of shows that no, he knew he wasn't allowed to have it. Also, one of his excuses was that he declassified all this stuff before he took it home, which, no, he did not do that. There is a process in place right now, currently, when you declassify things, where you have to get the agency involved the agency that it belongs to, basically involved and get their sign-off in order to declassify it. This was put in place by Barack Obama. There has been nothing to countermand that order. It was an executive order by Barack Obama that put this in place, and there's been no other executive order to countermand that, or no other law passed or other policy put in place in order to countermand that, so that order still stands. Trump did not do that. Trump has gone on record, gone on air in interviews with Sean Hannity and others, and basically asserted that all he had to do was think about declassifying it, and then they would be declassified. That is, of course, not true. That is total 100% grade A bullshit. You cannot just think about it and then declassify it. That's completely just made up baloney that has no basis in fucking reality. Another thing that they're doing is the old, well, everybody else is doing it too kind of thing. The distraction, saying that, well, Barack Obama and Mike Pence and Joe Biden were also found with classified documents as well. And if they can do it, how come I can't do it? And it's like, well, yes, they were. They have been found with classified documents. The difference is that all three of those people cooperated with investigators and immediately returned all the classified material because it happens, right? Especially like say somebody like Joe Biden, right? Where you're a senator for many, many years and you get copies of stuff and you may not know that it's classified, or a lot of times you get things and they're classified later, or maybe there's just security gaps in the way that classified material is handled, right? This is all things that can happen. And so, yeah, this and the reason why they returned them, the reason why they found these things is because actually Joe Biden had his lawyers go through his residence, go through his garage, go through his office, stuff like that, in order to look for classified material. Apparently, Mike Pence did the exact same thing. They did this of their own accord in order to see if they had any material because they knew that there may be a probe coming because of the Trump thing. And when they found material that may be classified, they immediately returned it of their own volition. They actually reached out to the Department of Justice and said, hey, we have this stuff, come get it. That's a major difference. A major, major difference from Donald Trump, who not only took the shit home himself, but then has been hiding it, actively hiding it from investigators, telling them that he doesn't have it, moving it from place to place, conceivably destroying evidence. There's a story that I saw about how there's surveillance footage of Donald Trump with these things that may have been destroyed because at Mar-a-Lago somebody drained the pool and they drained the water from the goddamn swimming pool into the server room. How does that happen exactly? You know, and that destroyed like equipment and stuff, which happened to have the surveillance footage of Donald Trump committing a crime. Just a coincidence. Happened to have the footage of Donald Trump with these classified documents, right? How does that happen exactly? I mean, is the server room underneath the swimming pool? Is that what happened? I mean, in order to do that, like, did they just drain it and then, like, water went down the stairs and into the server room? Like, did they put a hose from the pool into the server room on purpose? Like, kind of sounds a little suspicious to me. Don't you think? Kind of sounds like, hey, they were trying to find some way to get rid of this. You know, all you really have to do is just get a virus and infect the computer with a virus that destroys the hard drive or whatever. Why you got to do all this, you know? But it sounds fishy. So all of these things are being investigated now. What was in these boxes? What kind of sensitive material did Donald Trump abscond with? What kind of material did he illegally take home? Well, it had to do with lots of different things. Apparently, he stored in cardboard boxes information regarding defense and weapon capabilities of the United States and other foreign countries. United States nuclear programs, potential vulnerabilities of the United States and its allies to military attack, and plans for possible retaliation in response of a foreign attack. Kind of sounds pretty bad stuff. You know, when it comes to the nuclear arsenal, they don't mess around. So he's basically, if he's going home with like documents that detail our nuclear capabilities, that's the kind of thing that will get you executed, right? I mean, don't forget, like, espionage is one of I think the only actual charge that the federal government can execute you for is espionage. I mean, that's getting dangerously fucking close. Right. Now, they will never execute Donald Trump. That's not going to happen. Right? That's wishful fucking thinking. For normal people, yes. So, bad stuff here, folks, right? Other things, let's see. Military options of foreign country and potential effects on the United States. military contingency planning of the United States, foreign country support of terrorist acts against the United States, nuclear weaponry of the United States, military activity in foreign countries. This is Defense Department level stuff right here. This just isn't like, Hillary Clinton's emails or something, or diplomatic cables or whatever. Bad stuff that will already get you thrown in jail for years and years and years. This is like, for normal people, you could get the death penalty for this. Right. At the very minimum, each one of these carries decades in jail. So this is bad shit, folks. You want to hear some other bad stuff? You know who's in charge of this? The judge who's in charge of this effort? Eileen Cannon. So, yeah, I'm calling it right now. Trump's getting off. Now, if you forget who Eileen Cannon is, she is the judge that appointed the special master for Trump. So once this thing all started a year ago, Judge Eileen Cannon was the one that appointed the special master and basically gave Trump and his lawyers every single thing they wanted. And the special master, if you remember, he was basically a guy that was supposed to go through these documents and see which ones actually belonged to Trump and which ones didn't. And it turned out none of them belonged to Donald Trump, right? Like, they were all classified, and Donald Trump didn't have any claim on them whatsoever. And the whole thing was a giant farce that just ended up wasting all this money. And the special master ended up billing Donald Trump $500 an hour or something like that. Basically, it was a stalling tactic, is what it was. The special master thing was a stalling tactic, so that months would go by and people would forget about this, right? Because that's what Donald Trump does. Whenever Donald Trump gets in trouble, he stalls and stalls and stalls. So think about basically the sexual assault charge, where they basically said that there wasn't enough proof that he raped her, but it was like sexual assault instead. And he had to pay E. Jean Carroll $5 million. Remember that? That suit was brought before Donald Trump became president. That was brought in like 2016. And they just got a ruling on it now. Like, some 6 years later, right? 7 years later now. That's what Donald Trump does. He basically just delays, because in his civilian life, that's what he always had, the money in order to outlast people. Whenever somebody would try to sue him, see, it costs money to sue people. You have to retain a lawyer, you have to do all these court fees and stuff like that, and it can cost you thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to sue somebody. And it may end up even costing more than the reward you're getting. And this is what Donald Trump does in order to avoid those types of payouts. He can just outlast people. And more often than not, the guy suing realizes, well, it's going to cost me more than what I'm getting back from him, and then they give up. Well, the United States government is not going to just give up. The United States government is not, you're not going to be able to just outlast the government. That's not a thing. They will keep coming forever and ever. Right? So that's the tactic that he's trying to use. He went and got a special master, and he got a judge that he appointed, right? Judge, what's her name? Eileen Cannon. That's a judge that he appointed, that he basically has in his pocket, that he like controls essentially, right? That'll do anything that he fucking says. He gets this judge, this corrupt ass judge, right, on his side here in order to just delay, and in the hope that the charges just go away. And it's like, well, no, they're not going to go away, because the United States government has all of the money in the goddamn world. So that's what happens. So, but now we're back with Eileen Cannon. So apparently, I was reading some things like saying, well, she might not be in charge of the criminal trial, because it's going to go to trial now, which it should have went to trial months ago, but it's going to go to trial now. And it's like, well, is she going to be in charge of that trial? Is she going to be presiding over the trial? I don't know. But if she's presiding over the trial, I guarantee you Donald Trump gets off. Right. And that'll be a travesty of justice because this case is like open and shut. They have the evidence. They have recordings of him knowing that, they know this shit's illegal. They have him obstructing justice. They have him pussyfooting around with it, lying to investigators, all this other stuff, getting his lawyers to lie. Crap like that, right? They know that he fucking did. They've got all the goddamn evidence in the world. The only way he gets off now is if the judge, Eileen Carroll, rules all that evidence inadmissible for one stupid fucking reason or another, and Trump gets off on a technicality. That's real, and there's a huge chance that might actually happen, because when you have a judge in your pocket, it's like putting your thumb on the scales in a massive way. So Trump, of course, is using this to raise money on Truth Social. If you go on Truth Social and you go to Donald Trump, basically every third tweet from him, I guess they call it truths on Truth Social, every third truth or whatever is Donald Trump posting a thing saying, give me money. The corrupt Democrats are trying to blah, 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 right? You know what's really funny? Through the whole, Trump's entire 2016 campaign, one of the famous sort of chants that he championed there was lock her up. Lock her up, right? Basically normalizing the idea that we should jail our political opponents for political reasons. Nobody could ever actually name a crime that Hillary Clinton actually committed. Lock her up. Well, now that now that we have actual proof of actual crimes that Donald Trump committed, now suddenly it's like they're comparing Joe Biden and stuff to Stalin and Hitler. He's locking up his political opponents. It's like, you motherfuckers, you're the ones that were saying this shit. You're the guys that basically ran a campaign with that as one of the major fucking slogans. And now they're trying to turn around, because you got to remember, this is what happens with fascism, right? The rules, basically, when it comes to fascists, they don't apply the rules evenly. They never apply what they say to themselves. That's the entire point of fascism, is to have one group of people that rules over another group of people and who are essentially above the law. And that's what they want for Donald Trump. So I would like to show some Twitter reactions, but these are going to be mainly from Truth Social. I guess you call them Truth Social truther reactions, right? Let's go over here. Let's turn on my window. It's always fun to see what the assholes are saying. This is Cat Turd on Truth Social. Democrats can't win unless they cheat. I don't see where the cheating part has come in, how exactly is somebody who breaks the law being arrested and having a trial for the crimes they're committed of? How is that cheating? Remember, Donald Trump is innocent until proven guilty. So, despite what makes this, a slam dunk, is that there's overwhelming evidence that he did it. There's all the evidence in the goddamn world that you need that he fucking did it, right? So how is it cheating? You know what cheating would be? If they were to just raid him right now, grab him, throw him in a prison cell, and not give him a trial, right? If they were to just do that, if they were to just lock him up without any kind of defense or anything, like the same way that they want to lock up Hillary Clinton, right? If it would, kind of like if there was, say, a storm of arrests and executions, like how the conservatives and QAnon assholes have been calling for 7 years now. If they were to just go and do that and just execute and murder everybody without any trials, that would be cheating. But no. The cops going in and actually arresting somebody because they have evidence they committed a crime, that's not cheating. And here's the other thing. 2020, Joe Biden won that election. He didn't cheat during that election either. If you have evidence of any cheating going on during that election, please bring it to our attention because we want to hear it. I mean, there were 60 some odd court cases where people like Rudy Giuliani and Lynn Wood and a bunch of other sordid morons claimed that there was cheating, but as soon as they would, they would go in front of the cameras and be like, "Oh, they cheated, blah blah blah, all this other crap," and we have signed affidavits saying that they were stuffing ballot boxes and all this other shit, 2,000 mules, blah 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 blah. But as soon as any of those people got in front of a judge, no, there's no evidence of cheating, Your Honor. Right? And 60 different court cases lost. So don't give me this shit that Democrats can't win unless they cheat. See, it's all projection. Projection, projection, projection. Moving on here. Here's another one from Cat Turd, because this guy is just a never-ending wellspring of conservative batshit fuckery. Truth details from Cat Turd. If you're a political opponent, Biden's DOJ is coming for you. If you're a Christian, Biden's DOJ is coming for you. If you're a conservative, Biden's DOJ is coming for you. If you're a Trump supporter, Biden's DOJ is coming for you. If you speak out against the teachers union, Biden's DOJ is coming for you. If you criticize them on social media, Biden's DOJ is coming for you. So let's kind of break these up. What is he doing here, right? This is a take on the famous Holocaust quote where they said, at least it sounds like to me, first they came for the socialist and I wasn't a socialist, so I didn't say anything. That famous quote, I'm not exactly sure who did it, Then they came for me and there was no one else to speak up for me, in so many words. That's what it sounds like to me, except he's making it a little more batshit insane and paranoid. If you're a political opponent, Biden's DOJ is coming for you. Which other, besides Donald Trump, what other political opponents of Joe Biden specifically have been thrown in jail? We see in other countries where people get thrown in prison, like say Vladimir Putin will throw the guy running against him in prison on some bullshit charge. That's a little different here. It's here the difference is there's actual charges. There is a mountain of evidence that this happened. It's not the same thing as Joseph Stalin throwing someone in the gulag for speaking up against him, or Vladimir Putin trying to assassinate someone, the president living in exile or something like that. That's a lot different. Here there's actual charges, there's actual evidence of these charges. We've been hearing about the evidence for these charges for a fucking year. So this is not just somebody breaking into Donald Trump's bedroom, rappelling through the windows, putting a bag over his head, and then shipping him off to fucking Guantanamo Bay. That's the exact opposite of that. I like this second line here. If you're a Christian, Biden's DOJ is coming for you. What the hell are they talking about? That's the other thing when you have conservative, insane people like this. These sort of Christian nationalist assholes. They always have this persecution fetish. No one is being thrown in jail in this country for being Christian. That is not a thing that happens. You do not go to prison because you're Christian in this country, right? At all. Can anybody name someone who was thrown in jail for being a Christian? No, you can't. You know why? Because it's bullshit. It doesn't happen. He's basically just capitalizing on that persecution fetish, because to them, to people like Cat Turd, being a Christian is the exact same thing as being a conservative, as being a Republican, as being a Second Amendment supporter. It's like, in his mind, you can't be a Christian and be a Democrat or a liberal or a progressive or believe that people have equal rights. Or you can't be a Christian and be in support of abortion. Or you can't be a Christian and be in support of gun control. Or anything like that. Or you can't be a Christian and support LGBTQ rights. They lump all of this together, where all of those things I just mentioned, none of them have anything to do with Christianity at all. It doesn't say anything in the Bible about being gay, LGBTQ. It doesn't say anything about that at all. We can debate. I'll debate that. I will fucking take the Pepsi challenge with that shit with anybody, because the actual Bible doesn't say that. You know, they point to certain passages in Leviticus or whatever where a man lay with another man. That doesn't say exactly what you think it says. That has to do with worship. That has to do with worship of strange gods who are not Yahweh, is what those passages relate to. Same thing with abortion. There are passages in the Bible that support abortion. There are passages in the Bible that says you should disarm, or you should beat your swords into plowshares, things like that. There are passages in the Bible where it says you are to turn the other cheek. That's a command from Jesus Christ. It says, turn the other cheek. If a guy smites you, present your other cheek to him. If he steals from you, then, you know, if he steals your shirt, then, or steals your cloak, then give him your shirt also. You're supposed to be a pacifist in the Bible. That is not some Old Testament shit. That's New Testament, right? You're supposed to welcome the visitor to your household and the immigrant to your country. You're supposed to welcome those people and help them. You're not supposed to fuck them up by tricking them to getting on an airplane and sending them to like camp out on the vice president's lawn or whatever. Right. So no, that's bullshit. The second thing, like, you know, all of these, you know, Trump supporter, what does he mean by if you're a Trump supporter? I guess he might mean like, well, I guess if you're a Trump supporter and you say try to take over the country on January 6th, then yeah, the Department of Justice is looking for you, but that's a crime. It's because you committed a crime, not just because you're a conservative, not just because you're a Trump supporter. And then what is this last shit about speaking out against the teachers union? What the fuck is that? Like, that's been going on for years at this point. Do we have thousands and thousands of people in jail because they caused trouble at school board meetings? Right? Is that a thing now? Do we have like entire concentration camps full of like angry Karens and Proud Boys and shit because they went to like scream at school board meetings because they're not banning the fucking books that they want them to ban or whatever? No. That's dumb. And then the last one, of course, no one is fucking throwing you in jail for shit that you put on Twitter or that you see on Facebook or dumbass shit that you put on Truth fucking Social. No, the police are not, you know, the Department of Justice are the police. The police are not throwing people in jail for any shit like that. This guy Cat Turd always really just jumps to like, he turns the dial up to 11 when it comes to the persecution fetish. And like puts the most insane, like batshit crazy rhetoric like that he can, and none of it has any fucking basis in reality. The guy's so full of shit. Moving on. Here's DC Drano, who's another fucking giant asshole. Let's see. DC Drano. It's become clear our government has been corrupted and weaponized against conservative Americans. We don't want a traditional GOP president to go in and play nice. We need a human wrecking ball to obliterate the evil infecting DC with fire and fury. I only know one guy who will do that. Kind of pushing the edge of the sarcastic terrorism there. I like how these guys always play around with the violent rhetoric. We don't want a traditional GOP president. We want a president that's going to go in and kick ass and take names. He's going to obliterate the evil, infecting with fire and fury. That's what they want. They want someone to go and take over. They want a dictator. That's what these people want. These people want a dictator. The same way that Nick Fuentes calls Donald Trump a king. The same way that people, you've seen the videos of like women and stuff at Trump rallies saying, I would, if it was you, you could be a dictator. Like stuff like that. Like, that's what they want. They want a Viktor Orban sort of Putin style dictator that will go in, kill all of their political enemies, or jail or kill all of their political enemies, and then enforce their will on everyone else. That's what they want. And they want them to go in and ban abortion nationwide and ban homosexuality and kick out all the trans people. Make it illegal to be a trans person. And, maybe then Jesus will come back after they do all this shit. That's why they want, maybe Jesus will finally come back and, like, I don't know, magically give submachine guns to babies or something. That's what these guys want. That's what being a Christian and a conservative means to these people. They're absolutely fucking bananas. These people are completely bananas, and they have way too much political power. Moving on. Here's another one from DC Drano. Bill Clinton took home classified docs. Bush took home classified docs. Obama took home classified docs. Pence took home classified docs. Hillary Clinton had classified docs on her email server. Biden had classified docs in his garage. Trump is the only one that gets indicted. Because. Now, I don't know if all of this is true. I don't know if Bill Clinton had classified documents or whatever. But the reason why none of those people got in trouble, none of those people got indicted, is because they cooperated with investigators. They returned the classified documents when they had them without any issue. They didn't try to hide them. They didn't lie about it. They didn't move things around or drain swimming pools into the server room in order to get rid of evidence, right? They didn't show them off to their fucking friends when they had them. That's why these people are not getting indicted. And in the case of Hillary Clinton, that was a fucking conspiracy theory. There's no actual proof. There's so many like news articles and like stories and evidence out there written about this, about what Hillary Clinton actually had on her email server, right? Like, yes, she had government emails that you're not allowed to have on her personal server. She did. It was not against the law to do that. Surprisingly, you would think it would be, right? You would think, like, oh, you shouldn't be using your private email server to, like, do official government business. That was not against the law. Intent plays into these things. Into this particular thing. If you take something home by accident, that's not against the law. It's an accident. Donald Trump did not take this shit home by accident. He did it on purpose. Right? There's video of him loading this shit, of him sending people to bring boxes and boxes and boxes of it. Right? There's photos of huge piles of boxes in the fucking bathroom at his house, where anybody could just walk in and get it. Right? That's what makes it so fucking bad. Is that, why? Like, for example, why was it wrong for Hillary Clinton to have an email server, right, with government emails on there, to use for official business? What's the problem? Why is that illegal? The reason it's illegal, the reason why they don't want them doing it, is because the server can get hacked, which is exactly what happened. I mean, if you remember, Donald Trump called for Russia to hack Hillary Clinton's server, and they apparently did, in search of these emails or whatever. But that's why. It's because it's vulnerable. And then other intelligence agencies might get their hands on it and shit, right? Well, that's exactly what fucking happened at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, if you have boxes and boxes of this stuff just sitting there where any fucking moron with a key can just walk in, I mean, it would be remiss. It would, the foreign, like the North Koreans and the Russians and like the Chinese and like, other like Iranians and like all the other countries that don't like the United States, they wouldn't be doing their jobs if they didn't have people there, if they didn't have spies at fucking Mar-a-Lago going through all of this material. If they didn't seriously, it's the most ridiculous fucking shit ever. So that's why Donald Trump is the only one that got indicted, right? Because he's the only one who committed a fucking crime. This shit is ridiculous, folks. I mean, I just don't understand how this... Is this the hill you're going to die on? Like, how do you defend this? After all the stuff we know, like after a year of stories coming out of what's in these documents and how Donald Trump handled them and how he would show them off to his friends, like bragging to people that he had it and all of this other shit. Like, I mean... This is how you're gonna defend this fucking guy? Like, and here's the thing, folks. There still will be people who will vote for him after this, right? This still will not be enough. Like the hardcore Trump like base, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could have photos of him basically handing this stuff off to fucking Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong Il and like fucking the Ayatollah Khomeini or whatever. You could like have him like basically handing all of this stuff to them personally, like a vote. You could have like a video of it, and then like with Donald Trump with a "Death to America" T-shirt on or whatever, and then like have him like roll up fucking the Constitution into a blunt and like smoke it. Like you could like while he's like stepping on a midget and fucking like pimp slapping the Statue of Liberty, and they would still say, "Oh, it's all fake news. Oh, this is Joe Biden's Department of Justice persecuting God's chosen," because that's what it is, folks. It's a fucking cult. Half of these people see Donald Trump as like sent from God personally. They see him as a religious figure. I think there's a very big chance that if they leave this in Eileen Carroll's court, then Donald Trump gets off. If they move it to another court, he might 100% get convicted. But even if he gets convicted, do you really think Donald Trump's going to spend time in prison behind a cell? Like how? No. Donald Trump's not going to prison. Right. That's not going to happen. I want him to go to prison. He should go to prison. If anything, I think the worst thing that would possibly happen to him would be house arrest. So, oh no, he just has to stay in fucking Mar-a-Lago or whatever. That's what's going to happen. If anything. I mean, I don't know. That's the best thing I can think of. I mean, I wish if my dream came true, then it would be, yeah, Donald Trump should go to fucking jail. He should spend, 40 years in fucking Club Fed for this shit. And I wouldn't even be, like, disappointed if they sent Donald Trump to the rich people prison. Because you know how, like, rich people don't go to normal prison? They go to, like, the prisons they go to they have, like, a masseuse and a salad bar and a tennis court and shit like that. Like, that's, like, the pussy prisons, the rich people prisons. Like, I wouldn't even give a fuck if they sent him there. I think that would be enough still to justice. You could just say, okay, well, what do you expect? He's fucking ex-president. They're not going to lock his ass up in fucking Alcatraz. He's an ex-president, right? So, no, they're going to send him to the luxurious fucking prison that has, like, a movie theater in it and, like, a salad bar and a personal masseuse and, like, all of this other shit, and, like, a fucking live music and crap like that. He's going to go to the fucking, like, party prison and shit. But even still, that would be, I mean, if that even happens, I highly doubt that that's going to happen either. So, we'll see, folks. I mean, I guess, here's the other thing, though. 2 years ago, I would have said they never would have indicted him in the first place. So, maybe there's a chance. Nobody can tell the future. Maybe he might actually end up being held accountable for the first time in his fucking life. How awesome would that be? And he's still running for president, so it's like, I think he's still going to get the nomination, even after all of this shit. I still think he's getting the nomination. How crazy would that be that he becomes president and then he has to, like what would they do? I'm assuming they would just suspend the trial while he's president, but then he would just pardon himself while he's president. So it's like, I don't know. We're heading into uncharted territory. All kinds of crazy shit could happen here. So let's just, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. Just interesting times are ahead. Hello folks, if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, please consider buying something from my Etsy shop, supporting me on Patreon, liking and subscribing, and checking me out across my social media links listed below. Thank you all so much, and see you next time.